Okay, friends, come on in. If you could fill in these two middle sections, that would be great. I'm going to ask family to sit in this crescent up here or in the front row. It's not SeaWorld, so come sit nice and close. You're not going to get wet. No splash. Okay, and before anybody gets comfortable, I really am going to ask that these front rows get filled in. I don't want seats between the family and people, so if you see an open seat, please stand up and come to the front. I want them surrounded. There you go. Thank you for, yeah.
I thought you said front rows were for family.
Until they were open, and now they're for close friends. Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. The sanctuary is functioning as a house of mourning. The point of Shiva for Bernie or for anybody is for the family to come together and to be supported by family and community. The Jewish love language is showing up in food. That's what we do, showing up in food. And so by having Shiva here in Atlanta, family is able to connect not just with each other, but with local friends who very much want to be here together. And when you're looking around, you can see what it means to be part of a sacred community, right? Being part of a sacred community makes a huge difference in life, and as one is dealing with death. So the purpose of the Shiva minyan is really to get to the mourner's Kaddish, which we'll do at the end of the service. And the tradition in our general circles is that we pause before the mourner's Kaddish and leave time to share some words, to share some stories. And we'll, of course, start with most immediate family of kids and then grandkids, and then if there's others who want to share a story about Bernie, a memory, right? That this is the chance to do it. This is different than a funeral. A funeral has a lot of ritual attached to it, a lot of circumstance, and of course the emotion of the interment. This is intimate, and it's coming together in a very, very beautiful way. So we'll begin with what's called the nigun. A nigun is just a wordless melody. You don't have to have a good voice. You don't have to know Hebrew, all right? It's just a way of coming together as a sacred community for the purpose of mourning and communion. So feel free to join in with me. Let's try that together. Nice deep breath in, and we let it out. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, one of our great Jewish minds of the last century, talks about the three main ways that one can mourn. This is a good chance to turn off your cell phones if you haven't turned them off. That's okay. Three ways to mourn when one loses somebody really sacred to them. A father, father-in-law, grandfather, sibling, God forbid a child. The three ways, according to Rabbi Heschel, the first is you cry and scream and pound and wail, and that expression is the expression of a rent heart, of a torn heart, knowing that, of course, life will go on, but it won't be the same. It just won't. And we express that, according to Rabbi Heschel, through the tears and the wails and the pounding. The second way, according to Dr. Heschel, to mourn a real loss is with silence. Because sometimes there just aren't words. Although he says in that silence, if you listen, you could hear what Bernie would say, advice he would have given, maybe his laugh, maybe his reaction to something. And in that silence, not just now, but going forward, when you connect his memory with silence, you'll hear him. The third way, says Rabbi Heschel, of how to mourn is to sing. And in the song that we're singing, the voice that we carry his song that was cut short. A song that started before he was born, and a song that will continue after we're gone. He had his song, he had his voice, our voices continue where his has stopped. Cry, silence, and song. Okay, this is our Shiva Minyan prayer book. If anybody doesn't have one, there are, I think, a couple available outside, or I can send someone running for them. Grab a couple, if you will, just in case anybody's missing, okay? Friends, we're going to rise, and we're going to face east, which for most of you, you're already facing that direction. We'll face east. We'll start on page 4A. I'll call out the page numbers as we go. This is not a long service, and a lot of it we're going to do with a combination of the Hebrew and English, again, to get to the mourner's Kaddish and the memories that will precede it. Page 4A. Baruch hu et Adonai hamivorach, Baruch Adonai hamivorach, leolam vaed, Baruch Adonai hamivorach, leolam vaed. Page 5A. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bivaro ma'ariv aravim. In the English, praised are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzivaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Page 6A. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael amcha ahavta. Together, everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, We will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life, and fulfilling them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. As we get ready for the Shema on page 7, the Shema in the house of mourning traditionally has one breath per word, and the way that it sounds is one of yearning. It is a Shema of yearning, one of wailing, and one very appropriate for the moment. Deep breath in. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuta Le'olam Va'ad. We can be seated. On 8a, you'll find V'ahavta, which is the second part of the Shema. And this part of the prayer is all about teaching and learning. And so my challenge for everybody is to think of what Bernie taught you, something important that you learned from him, something that will stick with you, or what comes to mind in the moment. When you think of him, what did he teach you? What did you learn? V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech u'shachbecha uv'kumecha u'shartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uv'tavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha Leman tizkeru vasitem ekol mitzvotai vitem kiddushim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liyot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. Page 9a. Emet v'emunah kol zot, together, all this we hold to be true and trustworthy for us. You alone are our God, and we are Israel, your people. You are our sovereign and Savior, who delivers us from oppressors' hands and saves us from tyrants' fists. You work wonders without number, marvels beyond count. You give us life and steady our footsteps. You perform miracles for us before Pharaoh, signs and wonders in the land of the Egyptians. You led your people Israel out from their midst to freedom for all time. When your children witnessed your dominance, they praised your name in gratitude, and they accepted your sovereignty. Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you together, lifting their voices joyously. On page 10a, Mihi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mihi kamocha nehedar bakodesh norah tehilot o sefele. On page 10b at the top. In the English, we pray together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Page 11a. This prayer is so appropriate for this time that we Jews are going through, and for this time that this family and community is going through. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, together grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renew. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, shomer amo Yisrael v'ad. We'll rise for our Amidah on page 13a. The first piece we'll do out loud, asking for the intentions of our heart to be articulated in words and actions. And then we'll continue with the Amidah silently, going at your own pace. You can use the words of the prayer book or the words of your heart. And when you feel that your prayer is complete, I would encourage you to have a seat. Adonai, Adonai, Saftai Tivtov, Adonai, Ufi Agid Tahilatecha. On page 25a at the bottom, our rabbis say that anytime we're together, we're instructed to come together asking for peace. Peace amongst nations, peace amongst neighbors, and the peace that comes from a broken heart. Ose shalom bimroma, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael ve'imeru. Amen. You'll find Aleinu on page 26a. We rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol l'tekidu l'yotzer breshit shelo asani kogei haratzot v'lo samanu kamishpachot adama shelo sam chalkenu kahem v'gohor aleinu kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umistachavim umodim Lifnei melech malchei hamalchim hakadosh baruch hu 27a v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo Echad. We can be seated. So as promised, this is the pause before the mourner's Kaddish. So I'll ask first Robin and then Cindy to share some words. Okay, whatever you'd like to say. And actually, I'm going to hand you a microphone. Okay.
Might not need this. Okay. Never thought I'd be doing this. Thank you all for coming tonight to support our family, and for those of you online, I appreciate you. For those of you that don't know, we were a couple of days into our last-minute cruise with our dearest friends, Elise and Bill Kellard, when we received the initial news about our father's medical emergency. Being stranded in the middle of the ocean with the most caring and compassionate friends made the race to get home so much easier. Thank you both for being by our sides when we needed you the most. Thank you. Our father did not want to suffer, and he was able to leave this physical world with minimal suffering. And for that, I and my sister and my entire family are so comforted and relieved. I'm going to share a few words from his memorial service we held on Sunday, and I hope that you will have a better picture of who my father was during our childhood. Chores are for children normally include emptying the dishwasher, taking out the trash, and cleaning your bedroom. Well, Bernie Lynn never got that message. His 3 daughters were taught and expected to paint the exterior fence of our home. I guess he read Tom Sawyer. Build an addition to our home. Clean and maintain our pool biweekly. Get on the roof and help him paint the shingles of the roof. Yes, all of this done was in the very hot Hollywood, South Florida summers. Those chore requests were life lessons that his daughters have taken with us into our respective homes with confidence and skill. Growing up, we honestly didn't even know that there were such professions as handyman or repairmen. Who knew? Most children get money, jewelry from their parents when they graduate from school. Not the Lynn girls. We all got our very own toolboxes. We also found out that our father also gave, not this rabbi, our rabbi growing up, his own toolbox because he was tired of going over there so often. But here we are. Many of you don't know that our father also ran a large factory that produced beautiful draperies and bedspreads. We honestly felt like the Jewish family von Trapp for Purim. Daddy would design and make the most beautiful Queen Esther costumes, literally from draperies and tassels. And I'm talking nice stuff. He provided beautiful remnants of fabrics for our elementary school for the yearly Maypole celebrations. Many of our classmates recently reminded us of this during our high school reunion. Our lives centered around our beloved Temple Solel in Hollywood, Florida. This was our religious and our social home. Most of our parents' dearest friends, along with their children, are still part of our loving extended family today. We have carried that sense of family to Temple Emanu-El and love being with our Hollywood, Florida family in Dunwoody. My father built by hand, before there were entertainment companies, Tara, every single casino night table for our synagogue fundraiser. Once the event was over, most people didn't know that my dad had asked Rabbi Frazen to store the casino tables underneath the bima. He said yes, and I guess it was his way of ensuring a winning sermon. Daddy was adamant about having a Jewish home and was ecstatic that all of us raised very strong Jewish children, or as he would say, his 7 number 1 grandchildren. Every single Yom Kippur, I call my father midday to reminisce how he would break fast at our home. His version, let's just go with it, was to make himself a salami sandwich on an onion roll midday. I will miss those calls. Also centered around food was my dad's favorite meal. We called it the CEO meal. CEO meal was chicken, eggs, and onions. Don't knock it till you tried it. I pass this delicacy on to our children and will always smile when I make it. I will also smile when I think about his screaming when he saw that I put ketchup on my eggs. I'm sorry, Dad. Sorry. He's from Brooklyn, and that just didn't go over well. I have fond memories of my father making me the most delicious cocktail as a young girl after a long week on Friday nights. A whiskey sour, minus the whiskey. He used a packet and would shake this drink with no whiskey in it, but I thought it had whiskey in it. Anyway. I felt so grown up having a cocktail with my dad, and I think of him every time I see my son Joel drinking whiskey. He was so happy to know that both Joel and Amy have found their persons. And while we will miss him terribly at Joel's upcoming wedding, his presence and love will be felt. It's so difficult for us to summarize our father's life through these words and in these brief moments. He'd be thrilled to know that all of us are here together celebrating a life well lived. May we all find comfort as we continue this journey of life without our father, but his spirit will always remain in our hearts. In closing, I leave you with the words from Barbra Streisand's Yentl. Papa, how I love you. Papa, how I need you. Papa, how I miss you. Kissing me goodnight. Rest easy, Daddy. I will love you forever. My dad's name was Bernie Lynn. He was a hell of a man. He was a mensch before we even knew what that word meant. He was just here in Atlanta a few weeks ago, and I asked him about his naval career. He was just so proud he was in the Navy. And so for over 50 years, I was told that he saw no combat in the Korean War he just peeled potatoes. Okay. Well, in his best Brooklyn accent at my kitchen table, he said, I didn't peel no potatoes. I may have paid someone to peel potatoes, but I didn't peel potatoes. This was news to my mother and to me, because that's the story we were told. I should have known, because I've never seen my father in the kitchen anyway. And he allowed my mom Sandy to do all the cooking. What word is this? While he was out to sea on the ship 600 miles out to escort, this is his story, I don't know the details, a Saudi Arabian king or prince. They were on their way. The captain came to him and asked him if he was Jewish, and he said, of course, yes. And the captain said, well, why didn't you tell us? Nobody asked. They actually turned the ship around and asked my father to leave the ship for his safety and the safety of the ship, because the tour before, someone got hurt or killed or whatever. So my dad got off and worked on land, not peeling potatoes though. And it was because for his safety, he was the only Jew on the ship. Kind of proud of that. Our Lynn family version of National Lampoon's Summer Vacation included the bright idea of schlepping 3 young girls and my mom across the entire country to visit every Army Air Force base to check on his beloved draperies to make sure they were hanging straight. This was in the middle of the summer, in the heat of the summer, in an old wood paneled station wagon. My dad MacGyvered the middle air conditioning vent with duct tape and flex tubing so the girls sitting in the back could get some air and cool air and breathe. I also think he used it as a divider so we would stop touching each other and fighting. That I remember. Along the way, we stayed at every Holiday Inn. Why, you ask? Not to get membership points, but it was because his kids ate free. We swam every night in indoor pools and had endless free bowls of spaghetti and hot dogs. My most cherished memories were working with my dad in the garage on various home improvement projects. He taught each of his girls the skills of plumbing, electrical, painting, and building. Like my sister said, I didn't even know handyman and repairman even existed until I moved out. We did it all. I think he did this because he knew we were all going to marry Jewish men and needed these skills. And I'm sorry, but the truth prevails. My dad had a nickname for each of us. We have a younger sister named Sherry. He always called me Mickey or Mickey Finn. It wasn't until college that I learned what Mickey Finn really meant. And I don't know why he picked that for me, because Robin was Rocky and Sherry was Scooby-Doo, but I don't know why I got Mickey. Maybe because they knocked my mother out with a Mickey because we were unexpected. They were waiting for the birth and delivery of a 10-pound baby boy. Well, I was a bonus baby who waited 23 minutes and came out as a surprise, 23 minutes later than Robin. I was very happy in there. I loved my daddy, even as adults. Today, my sisters and I still mostly refer to our parents as daddy and mommy, much to the chagrin of my children. Without hesitation, in public, we call them mommy and daddy. We are all of Ashkenazi descent way, way back. But right before I delivered my son, I called my rabbi I grew up with, and we usually name our children after the deceased in memory of. I loved my dad so much, at the last minute I called my dad and I called my rabbi and asked, can I please name my son in honor of my father? My father cried and he said, yes, of course. So I took my dad's initials, Bernie Lynn, and named my son Brandon Lawrence. So I have a big B and a little b now. I will always love and have amazing memories of my dad, Beryl Yitzchak, Bernie Lynn. Rest, Daddy. Rest in peace. We have it from here now.
I'd like to say a few words about Bernie. Just a really amazing, terrific man, terrific father-in-law. Getting back to what Rabbi said earlier, what did you learn from him? And I'll say a little bit maybe about 3 things that I learned from him. One was how to raise children so that they're going to be independent, getting back to a lot you heard here about the skills that he taught his 3 daughters and what I think was ingrained in all of his daughters and then their husbands also in teaching kids and making sure that they were going to grow up and not be reliant upon us while growing up for everything. And so I think we expected a good bit out of them, and they certainly delivered. The second thing that I would say, a pretty good thing that I learned from Bernie, was to be caring about other people. I never saw, very few people in my life that was so interested anytime you came into a room with him, he came into a room with somebody else, to ask how you were doing, to look to catch up on what you've been up to, and it was all very genuine. He really wanted to know how you were doing, and if there was anything wrong or any issues, he really wanted to know, was there anything he could do to help out? He cared about everybody. He just enjoyed life. If things were going well with you, then he would just smile, laugh, and just really have a good time in sharing those stories or whatever was going on in your life. So that was just an incredibly key thing, that it was just rare that I ever saw him where he just was not interested in looking to find out what was going on in everyone's lives, not people that he never knew before, and of course all the family. Every time that family would come to visit, or he would come up here and see family. And the third thing was family. I think we've heard a little bit about that tonight too, and I saw that when going down to Florida for his memorial service, and the 7 grandkids and fiancés, significant others, you name it, just seeing them together at all times during those couple days and really enjoying each other's company, sharing stories of things that had occurred with their grandfather, just talking about everything that they learned from him and what their hopes were in going forward with him. And it was just amazing to see the way that he always strived to have family come together. And with this family, it certainly worked. And you could not have 7 closer grandkids than he ended up with.
Thank you, Rabbi. So I've been fortunate to have 2 fabulous fathers in my life. My late dad, Robert Feinberg, and Bernie Lynn, both of blessed memory, both men of incredible character, helpful husbands, dedicated dads, gregarious grandfathers. Bernie was blessed to also be a great-grandfather to the extraordinary Eli Bernstein, who at 16 months is a wonderful participant in the Shift preschool here, and whose parents, Rachel and Mark Bernstein, are here with us tonight. Mark's not. He's taking care of the baby, as usual. Great job, Mark. You both have done an amazing job raising Eli, and Bernie was over the moon just 3 weeks ago. He was here with great-grandma Sandy Lynn, and they rolled around the floor at your home with that little man, and it was an amazing thing to witness. I knew Bernie as a man with a hearty handshake. He was a backslapper, an enthusiastic laugher, and most importantly, a warm and welcoming human being. I was fortunate to know him in his younger days. We met in 1981 when he was in his mid-40s, a corporate executive with a human touch. I saw him many times walking through his factory, smiling and speaking to every person on the floor, making sure they were okay as they made those pillowcases and shams, window blinds and draperies. He was always reaching out to everyone, making sure they were good to go, smiles all around, mostly because they only spoke and understood Spanish and he only spoke Brooklyn English. So no matter the language barrier, though, he really considered all of them his family. And when it came to family for Bernie, there was no higher priority. His 7 grandchildren, Joel, Rachel, Amy, Brandon, Brett, Jordan, and Brooke, often debated who was Grandpa's favorite. Well, in my opinion, there was never any doubt. It was their grandmother and their 3 mothers. No one and I mean no one, loved those women and strived to shield them from any difficulties in the world more than Bernie. He was a passionate advocate for his girls, and they were always his top priority. Now, he and Sandy obviously taught their daughters to have tremendous taste in men. I think the Lynn women are superior in that area in so many ways. When I asked Bernie and Sandy for Robin's hand, Bernie immediately hit me with the fastball questions. How are you going to support my daughter? How much money do you make? When I informed him I made $17,500 as a first-year TV producer, he laughed and told me he paid the janitors in his factory more than that. And I immediately responded back, are there any job openings? I think he realized then I would do whatever I needed to do to support his daughter. But his daughters didn't need too much support. They could do anything they wanted on their own. And it was all because Cindy and Sherry and Robin are not only beautiful on the outside, but brilliant and capable on the inside, confident that they could be anything or do anything because they were the daughters of Bernie and Sandy Lynn. My mother-in-law deserves a tremendous amount of credit for her lifelong dedication to her husband and to her family. Their marriage of 60 years is an inspiration to all of us. And so I thank you, Sandy, and I love you dearly. I want to take a moment now and thank our wonderful Temple Emanu-El family for all the care and concern they have displayed these past 8 days. It is times like these when you realize the importance of being part of a community as loving and thoughtful as Temple Emanu-El. From the words of wisdom and compassion of our clergy to the scores of people sharing heartfelt well wishes and thoughts of remembrance for our beloved Bernie. Every one of these actions are so very appreciated, and the outreach by the Caring Committee has lightened our load and helped us to heal. We truly have felt all of your presence during these days of difficulty. And Bernie, I think I can speak for all the men in your family that you have set a bar too high for any of us to reach, but we can continue to strive for that level of love, that enthusiasm for excellence, and devotion and dedication to our families. Your memory will remain with us for all of our remaining years and in the hearts of generations to come. I'm depending on that. We love you and thank you for teaching us so many lessons in life.
I can say something. Did I turn it off? Oh, no. Okay. Hi. I'm Amy. For those of you who don't know, I'm one of the 7 grandchildren, third in the line. So the debate of the favorite, I think, was kind of settled this weekend. Joel gets it just in birth order, so it's kind of an unfair advantage. He was the first grandson. But Brett, the 5th-born grandchild, he lives in Fort Lauderdale. He grew up across the street from Grandma and Grandpa, along with his 2 twin sisters, Brooke and Jordan. But his relationship with Grandpa Bernie was so beautiful and so special, and he spent a lot of time with Grandma and Grandpa. They were his best friends. Grandpa would call him Little B. And, well, number one, we know I wouldn't get the red Corvette because of my driving history. But Rachel and Joel were the only ones to be able to drive it because they were old enough, and then Grandpa got rid of the car. But if I put my vote in, and we kind of all voted that Brett would earn the red Corvette if Grandpa still had it. It is a big step. So Grandpa was just the best. He was such a goofball and just always, I have the best memories going down to South Florida and being with Grandma and Grandpa, and I will always hold those near and dear to my heart. And I feel very grateful that we got those special moments with him 3 weeks ago as a family. So thank you all for being here and supporting our family during this hard time.
Thank you. Beautifully said.
Any other grandkids here? Okay. So at this point, I'll open it up. And, I'll encourage, if you knew Bernie and have a good thought or a memory to share, that you tell a story or share a memory. It doesn't have to be long, but you'll be welcome.
When I think of Bernie, the first thing that comes to my mind is his smile. he had one of the biggest smiles anybody ever had. And anytime I would see him either coming over to his house or meeting him at the Schwarzenfelds or Temple or anywhere, he would greet me with this big smile, like Ed was talking about, just so happy. He made me feel so happy that he was so happy to see me, and would ask about what's going on and whether he was happy or not to see me. I think maybe it was because Elise was with me, but it was just a great, he made me feel wonderful, and it was always, so special and wonderful to see him, and that's the memory that I have.
Well, I'm Norman Zoller. I did not know him, but I appreciated hearing about him. He certainly was an exemplar in many ways, and we're happy to be here to share this with you.
Anyone else want to share? Okay. So I will ask the mourners to please rise. And if it is your custom to rise in solidarity, that we do so now. For those who had the honor to know and to love Bernie, I'll ask you to flutter your eyes closed for a moment. And as we center ourselves, getting ready for Mourner's Kaddish, I want you to think about him. And I want you to picture him standing right here next to you, healthy, hale, and strong. Close enough that you can feel his presence. And I want you to picture his head turning towards you and your gaze meeting his. Your eyes lock, and together you slowly begin to smile. If your eyes are closed, you can flutter them open. Mourner's Kaddish on page 34. Yit Gadal v'yit Gadash me'raba be'alma divrach hirute v'amlich machute b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael b'galav v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabba mevarach le'olam olamei amaya. Yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit raman v'yit naseh. Vita dar vita le vita la shme de kucha brichu la ela min kol berchata v'shirata tush berchata v'nechamata dami ram b'yama v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya v'chaim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Hosei shalom b'imru mav huya asa shalom alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Hosei shalom b'imroma, huya se shalom aleinu, ve'akol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu v'Yako Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu v'Yako Yisrael. And the traditional words that we say are Zikaron Lebracha. May his memory and name be a source of joy and inspiration for you and your family always. Zikaron Lebracha. Thank you, everybody.